Hey everybody, Jeremy here from Nobot Studios. Welcome to another Grit Fantasy RPG video. Today's topic, I'll be talking about a turn tracker. Now before I get started in today's topic, there's a couple things I do want to mention. The first is that there is a Grit RPG Discord server that you are welcome to join. I will have the link below and also in the YouTube channel for Nobot Studios. It's a growing community. There's lots of good people there. Come join us. It's a good place to be, especially if you like Grit Fantasy RPG. And I didn't even plan on rhyming all that, but it did. Okay. Second thing is that I have now Ko-fi set up for Nobot Studios. So if you are inclined to give a donation, even just a couple dollars to the cause, that would be greatly appreciated. Of course, you are under no obligation to do so. I will certainly be buying coffee because that is a thing that Gnomots run off of, and the old Gnomebot needs that. Also, anything extra is going to be going to software, hardware, and things to get this little tiny business of mine going and to produce better content for you guys. So check that out, and I will have the links below. Okay, so back to the topic here. If you are running games of Grit Fantasy RPG and you have maybe 3, 4, 5 players, maybe a lot of monsters. You have rounds that deal with a lot of narrative details. You may find that you can sometimes lose track of the rounds. I personally have not had this issue so much, but I run games with 3 players, usually 2 to 3 players, sometimes even 1. Occasionally it does happen. And like I said, if you got just a lot of things going on in your game, sometimes you can kind of lose track of where you are. So here's this idea for a turn tracker. Now this cool guy on the Discord server named Coyote, he put out this idea. I'm going to show you here. He just posted this on Discord, where basically as you move through the rounds in the game, you got these extra tokens here just on this space to kind of denote who has taken turns in the round. So you're just moving them back and forth. So like from the right to the left, and then once everybody has done their thing, then the round is over and it moves over to the next, round. Then next round you move to the left, and next round you move to the right, back and forth, back and forth. So for those of you who are not terribly familiar with how the rounds work in Grit Fantasy RPG, there is no initiative or set turn order. So it is this kind of collaborative thing that happens with both the players and the GM. Very fluid. Okay. And so the only rule is that the last to take an action in a round cannot be the first to take an action in the next round. And everybody gets 1 turn per round. For the monsters, some of them have multiple turns per round, and that's a GM thing. But so this is why it can sometimes maybe get a little confusing if you have, quite a few players or a lot of details or whatever. Another thing that he posted was his idea for these tokens that he uses, which I think is brilliant. So he's got these little dry erase tokens. He's got like the GM token, and then he's got his characters laid out. And basically what he does there is just like moves it from like top to bottom. So as the players take their turns, or characters rather, just the token moves down, and then, the GM takes their turn, they move down, the other players take their turns, move down, and then, once they're all in one area, then it just moves up the next round. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. It's analog. So yeah, and this is showing the GM in 3 players. So what I did is I took this idea and I changed it slightly, and I I made this. So I've got two basically just like channels that the tokens are set into. And then the very bottom circle is the last to act. So that is designated for that player or GM. If they've been the last to act, then they go in that space. I thought this little minor detail would help kind of clarify as you move through the rounds. And I've used this a couple times already, and I've been pretty pleased with how it works. And I have an example kind of set up to kind of run through some stuff to show you. Now this is on Affinity Photo, and I am using 2-minute tabletop maps with my own tokens for Grit Fantasy RPG. So on the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see the turn tracker that I've designed, and that is basically just like, it's a PNG, it's transparent, just the lines show. And then I have a GM token that I made for it. Both of these I'm going to offer I'm going to drop these into the Grit RPG Discord server as well for people to use if they want it. But the idea is that you have these tokens set up for the characters and then just one for the GM, and as they take turns, you just move them from one side to the next. All right, and so like, the last to act would go down into the circle. In this case, there's only two characters, but Sazi down there, Sazi the Hoblin, would be the last to act, and then the GM and Grunch the dwarf would be able to, act first on the next round. So what I would like to do is kind of just, work through some rounds here. I am not keeping track of hit points or grit points as much. The troglodytes here are just going to be one hit, one grit monsters. The characters, I'm going to give them like 5 hits, and I'm just going to use the Mighty D4 to like roll out the stuff. I'm not going to do a lot of rolling. I actually recorded this video before on Roll20, and it was just glitching all over the place and messed up the audio. And so yeah, here I am. We're using Affinity, and it's working out great so far. So, okay. So the idea here, let's just do this little scenario. You got Grunch and Sazi, and they have kind of wandered into this dungeon looking for this treasure, this crystal that has been stolen from these troglodytes, or stolen by these troglodytes. And you got a couple, they're just kind of leaning over this box and like maybe peeking in, looking at, their treasure that they just stole. And here comes our heroes down in a dark corner, just kind of moving forward. And I'm going to give them, as the GM, I'm just going to say, hey, these troglodytes aren't really that aware of you. So you guys can go ahead. So if there were players here, they would have the chance to go. Sorry, drinking that coffee. So Grunch is going to like do what he does best and just rush forward with his battle axe and his shield. Rah! And he's going to attack this troglodyte. And troglodyte's going to counterattack. And it doesn't go well for Grunch. He is damaged. And but takes the soak from his shield. And so I just move the token over. And with that, I think the GM's just going to take their turn. So the GM is going to move in with this guy, and he's going to flank Grunch. And he does damage to Grunch, actually, with that attack because he's flanked. Now this other one is probably going to hide behind this. And this one, I'm just going to see if I'm going to make some rolls to see if they're aware. And they're both aware. One of them rushes over here. The other one is going to go in this direction. Just move it, make a short move. All right, GM has taken their turn. And it's up to Sazi. Sazi pulls out his bow, kind of braces against this pillar. I've got you, Grunch. Shoots his bow. And hits this Trog. And he is out for the count. I think Sazi would probably, stay right behind that pillar there. And he is the last to act, so he is going to be in that little circle. So we have the GM and Grunch left, to do their turns. And I think Grunch is going to move. He's going to just take his turn. He doesn't like getting flanked here. He's going to rush back behind here and attack this guy. And he takes that Troglodyte out with his battle axe. Now seeing his buddy, seeing his buddy do that, I think Sazi's going to kind of step out here and he's going to fire his bow at this Troglodyte down below him. But he misses. Troglodyte, I guess I'm going to say the Troglodyte tries to dodge, and he is successful. So Sazi has taken his turn. Now it's up to the GM. I've got 2 Troglodytes to do stuff with. This guy is going to kind of attack Grunch. Got dice flying all over the place here. He does no damage. Grunch kind of blocks him with his shield. And this one just rushes and attacks Sazi. But does no damage at all. So GM was last to act, goes down in the circle. We are into a new round. Grunch is going to take the initiative and attack this Troglodyte, who is going to counterattack. And there's an exchange of blows, and Grunch gets hit once again. Now, I move over the token on the turn tracker, and then I'm going to just go as the GM, and I'm going to bum rush Sazi here. So, first one's going to attack Sazi. He gets hit and is out because Sazi pulls out his dagger and counterattacks. And this little Troglodyte, takes out, he's going to try to attack Sazi here. And he does Sazi some damage. So Sazi reels back. He is going to make a move behind this pillar. And I think that is all we got, right? Okay. Sazi did his reaction, so actually the GM was last. Okay, we're into a new round. Grunch is going to try to brawl this guy, push him against the wall, and twist his neck or something. Let's see what happens here. And he is successful in this thing. There's crunching bones as Grunch, takes him out. Move over the token. Sazi, he's going to rush over to this chest and see if he can open this thing up, and he is unsuccessful. I'm not using focus dice, by the way. And I'm going to say this Troglodyte, seeing his buddies go down, he rushes out and disappears from the scene. So GM was last to act once again, and that is basically a scenario. Real fast. It wasn't really following like true grit rules, but I just wanted to show you really quick just like how that kind of flowed. And you can see it's really easy to keep track of using this turn tracker. So I hope that this was kind of useful to you. Just a quick little video here, just a cool idea that was kind of brought up by, community on Discord, and I have been using it. And if you guys are a part of the Discord, you're going to have access to these little tokens that I set up, and I'd be curious to see how it turns out for your games if you use them. So anywho, that is all I had to say, and I want to just say thanks for stopping by and giving this a watch, and I hope you guys are out there gaming and having fun, and keep rolling those dice.